We are back from the wonderful view and ambiente here in the Belvedere in Vienna in this wonderful summer afternoon in September 2015. I am here again with Dr. Jose Mendez, and we have a very important subject today again. And I would like to read some names here that would be important for you to know, and repeat the names of the President of the International Criminal Court, the Honorable Judge Silvia Fernandez de Gurmadi, and the current prosecutor of ICC, International Criminal Court, and the Honorable Fatou Bensouda, replaced of Luis Moreno Ocampo. And then the Deputy Prosecutor, Honorable James Stewart of International Criminal Court, and then the Director of the Investigation, the Division of the Honorable Michael De Smet, and then the Director of the Prosecutions Division, the Honorable Fabrizio Gurigliali. And I ask you, Dr. Mendez, to give your comments to why this has not been fulfilled yet, that the criminal investigation of the criminality of the sort of judgment will come to Venezuela. Why has not the ICC did a comment yet on this?
Well, it's a question to the authorities of the International Criminal Court. We don't understand. But the argument is that the protocol of the Rome Treaty regarding crimes against humanity, genocide, and crimes of war are very rigorous. And because of this, you can have the evidence. But if you don't know how to submit the evidence, it's very difficult. It's like if you go from here, from Vienna, to the International Criminal Court, there are some protocols to drive the truck that we have with evidence. That, if we could put this evidence that we have in the truck, we would need several trucks to bring the evidence and the compelling reasons why we are here. Now, this is precisely the reason, answering your question, why we want to face-to-face, to have a meeting face-to-face with the prosecutor, with the president, with the director of the investigations, with the director of the prosecution's divisions, to tell them what's going on. You have so much evidence here and nothing has been done. Now, the question you made at the beginning, how much blood? Dear prosecutor of the International Criminal Court, how more crimes, how much evidence you will need? So the reason we are coming here is that because we do have now a multidisciplinary team of experts, including former magistrates of the Venezuelan Supreme Court of Justice, ready to act, ready to go individual by individual, because you don't sue like you sue the Venezuelan regime. No, you need to sue person by person. Just speculating, you need to sue, for instance, Nicolás Maduro Moros. You need to sue the president of the Venezuelan Congress, which is called Assembly, Diosdado Cabello, a well-known drug trafficker that does as he pleases in Venezuela, and the U.S. has a lot of information about this because there are criminals that were now debriefed, interrogated by the U.S., and then they sealed the record instead of making it of public domain, and then they gave them, these criminals are given protected status. We don't understand that. But the issue here is we are ready to get all the evidence, and it will be very interesting. Will for instance, the International Criminal Court give us access to the full record of the Diego Arria brought there, to the full record that the other people from Foro Penal Venezolano brought, etc. So, what concretely are the issues? First, we are going to demonstrate that there were violations regarding assassinations. There have been several assassinations within this 270,000 people violently killed by the colectivos, and this is a lot. And then in the order of 700,000 people injured. Now there have been also kidnapping. There have been people that have been kidnapped by the regime, and then they found them dead. we need to address these issues, and who specifically. For instance, SEBIN, which is the intelligence services of very evil people that give themselves the rights to violate laws and the Constitution and international standing declarations like the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the American executed by the United Nations, the American Declaration of Human Rights, and series of international covenants that have been and are daily violated by this regime. So, for instance, we have the crime of torture. There are tortures, honorable members of the International Criminal Court, documented tortures in Venezuelan jails. For instance, 2 days before the last massacre at Uribana jail, I wrote a letter to my friends at the Episcopal Conference of Venezuela, and I told them, please let them know that we are looking at this. You know, hours after that, more than 140 people were killed by the regime within the. How can you justify that? Within the frames of the jails, 140 people. That must be investigated. But not only that, but they have been torture after torture. They have a building in the center of Caracas. Yes, it's a butchery house. They have a building, the people of SEBIN, and they have people like Saleh, you know, below the ground, five floors. And it's interesting to go there and talk about like this man who is a Colonel Cheo, we call him, and this man was a soldier, you know, Jose Gomez Bustamante, Cheo. He was, you know, taken by instructions of Maduro, who is not a Venezuelan, and this man is an honorable soldier of Venezuela, an official who was on the boundaries of Venezuela with Colombia, that have been fighting and exposing his life to this, that now is sick. He came with a wheelchair to the military jail, and he presented the report. Cheo presented the report to President Chavez. And you know, President Chavez, as traitor, as a criminal, the very reason we are coming to you, International Criminal Court, I submitted several petitions at the highest level. I have, for instance, a petition for amparo requesting to nullify the military and commercial covenants with Iran. And I said why. And the Venezuelan regime has subsequently violated all standing agreements internationally and supporting this career for nuclear warfare of Iran. We have demonstrated that there is no interest whatsoever, and I, as an expert on nuclear issues, of Iran using nuclear material to produce electricity. You know, when you pass 4% of enrichments, you know, your purpose is military, in blatant violation of the Treaty of Non-Proliferation.
Why the International Criminal Court has not even started an investigations, even if they have so much proof of all these cases in Venezuela?
Well, I can only assume by going to the website of the International Criminal Court that there were many attempts from different people. I know two major ones. I spoke directly with Alfredo Romero and partially with Gonzalo Jiménez from the Foro Penal Venezolano. They showed me a huge volume of evidence and that was really exposed in the context of the Rome Treaty, and we don't really know what happened, because we know that they submit these claims and these petitions, and then nothing happens. There is silence. Something very strange is happening.
That's clear.
And then you see these stupid, idiotic cases of ladies with their babies coming to buy basic products to their babies, and the government of a foreign national, who is Maduro, demands that they produce birth certificate in order to sell them products. It's a very paradox situation. One, to produce an indictment of each one of the individuals who are going to come. They might be 7, they might be 12, they might be 14. But we can assure you that today, we have exceedingly abundantly above the evidence we need to produce the indictment, to produce the judgment, and to give an order of arrest. Considering that this type of criminals could come to power, establishes clearly, is Article 333 that establishes that we have the right to disobey a government that is violating the Constitution. And 350 establishes also the grounds to ignore them and to restore the institutionality of Venezuela. I mean, we are obligated, it says, whether you are in positions of power or you are not. If you are a Venezuelan citizen, you are obligated to do whatever is within your possibility to restore democracy, to restore the institution, to restore the rule of law in Venezuela.
Now the government that is ruling, they have been doing and violating the Venezuelan constitution and repeatedly the electoral fraud that will not be accepted by ICC. Can you explain the situation?
Well, yes, it's very frustrating to know that for the ones that do not know the protocol to proceed and produce at least an investigation of the issues brought to the ICC. But it's important to know that Chavez was not on power by being real honest, and since he made the Asamblea Constituyente, that was the first elections, he got 52% of the votes, and then he got 125 members of the Assembly, of the Congress. And then the opposition with 48% got 6. So since the very moment that he made the first elections to change the prior constitution of 1961, he started committing fraud. But subsequently, in 2004, we have evidence, numerically and legally demonstrated, done by several teams of people, but this that I know very good is Maria Mercedes Febre Cordero. Again, fraud was committed. In 2005, most on average of the members of that Congress, that was the Venezuelan Congress from 2005 to 2010, that did terrible violations against our Constitution and international law, also committed fraud. In 2006, President Chavez, started the engineering process. It's a very complicated engineering, but the central situation here is that the law of electoral process is not complied. Then in 2007 we won against Chavez, and he was so rude, telling that about the victoria de mierda. He spoke in those Venezuelans know that he went on national TV saying that. And then in 2010 there was again fraud. In 2012 I was at the Episcopal Conference of Venezuela with the highest authority of the Catholic Church, following on the numbers, and we knew that something very dirty was happening between 5 o'clock in the afternoon ahead. Today we know the details, and there are several impugnations at the very Supreme Court of Justice of Venezuela, in which I co-participated with the team of Teres Limalave, Adriana Vigilanza et al. Then the new elections after Chavez was killed by the Cubans, as we suggest that must be investigated. But the elections, the last presidential elections, when Maduro came to power on April 14th, 2013, also were fraudulent. President of Austria and the Prime Minister and the Minister of Foreign Affairs and even the people at the Embassy of Austria in Venezuela has sufficient documentation to the fact that the fraud was committed in the elections of 2013, and therefore there are 3 reasons why this criminal by the name of Maduro, Nicolás Maduro Moros, who was born in Cúcuta, and until he doesn't prove the contrary, this is our conviction, who usurpated his functions as vice president to be candidate to the president, but worst of all, who committed fraud, open fraud. We have demonstrated the fraud, and it's going to be very interesting because we know about the God of justice.
Absolutely.
And when democracy will be restored in Venezuela, we're going to do a new national identification system of Venezuela.
Excellent.
When this new system will be made, Venezuelans will be surprised that we were not 30 million people, but they have millions of people that were indeed, fabricated by La Señora Tibisay Lucena and Jorge Rodriguez and all the ones that were involved in the fraud. By the way, we will be surprised to know that so-called official opposition leadership, there are many of them that were paid by the government to co-participate of the fraud. Well, everything, you see the Lord Jesus said about that. All things that are hidden will be manifested.
Manifested and revealed.
Yes.
Dr. Mendez is very interesting. I think that's good that we stopped this session this time. This was the take 2. And we thank you for listening and come back to the next part. God bless you.